You are not in Kansas anymore. You are on Pandora, ladies and gentlemen. Respect that fact every second of every day. If there is a hell, you might want to go there for some R&R after a tour on Pandora. You've got to obey the rules. Pandora rules.
Pandora's box is about to open wide.
Welcome once again to Pandora's Box, everyone. We hope that you're having a pleasant evening out there, whatever you're doing.
Hello, everybody!
Hello.
Cheers for tuning in, as always, ladies and gentlemen.
We are here again.
We are here again with nonsense for you for about the next 2 hours. How you doing, fellas? You all right?
I'm damn fine, man. I had
Damn
3
fine?
coffees today,
Yeah.
and I caught a train, and it was real fun looking out the window, seeing the sun shining, not driving my car on the commute. It was good fun.
Peaceful.
And
peaceful.
You got
Peaceful.
quicker than you expected.
I got here
which is
quicker.
always good.
I listened to some podcasts, and it was an overall good experience that I was happy with.
Well, I'm pleased that you had a great experience.
I'm
there,
feeling a bit
Drewster
tweaked,
Bear.
though, on the 3rd coffee of today.
Hey, that was only my 2nd, so I'm still feeling reasonably okay.
You have to catch up.
You know, our coffees, they're quite powerful. We put them all through that thingy, the filter coffee.
With filtering.
With about 10 scoops.
We do like our strong coffees, don't we? Don't worry, I will have a 3rd one because I'm going to do a little workout later on.
Oh,
so I'm sure I'll be
yeah.
tweaking just in time for dinner. You know?
Oh, man, I think I'm going to get annihilated tonight because I'm going to do a workout
Oh,
with
you
you. 'cause
gonna do a workout too?
I'm
my.
staying at your house tonight.
That's right. So Drewster
right.
the Bear is going to...
I was hoping that it was workout day for you
of course
today.
it's workout day. But
Every day's workout
Every
day.
day is workout day. We got
That's going to be fun.
embrace the nature of the bear. Yeah, I was talking to my comrades recently about how I've just had an increasingly
High sex drive.
high sex drive. I mean, I have to
From
say,
working out.
I mean, I have to say, it's something I've never suffered from is low sex drive.
Libido is through the roof
But I'll leave it there because I feel like sometimes we can get a little bit inappropriate
for the radio.
for the radio and some of the listeners out there. So I'm just gonna
We're
leave.
sorry.
I'm gonna leave it at that. But you know, probably a lot to do with it. They are working out.
Testosterone.
They say, you know, the things that probably, you know, keep your testosterone doing good, you know, things like working out,
Eating red meat.
diet. Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit. That would
Yeah.
definitely contribute. You know, little things
little
like
bit?
things like you know, knowing what to supplement with. You know, so I always take my my vitamin D and my magnesium and my
me
zinc.
too, man.
You know, so it's got to do some good.
I've been feeling really good since taking the vitamin D. I think it's been affecting me in a positive way, like quite quickly.
Yeah, I think
You
it
know?
will, especially in a country like the United Kingdom.
Not the United States. As
Not
it
the
kinda
United
sounds.
States,
We're
no.
over traveling here at the moment in the
I
United
know.
Kingdom.
We're just for some reason talking like this, and I don't really know why.
Redneck edition just happened
But
today.
sometimes I just
edition.
go with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes just gotta go
Man,
with
you know
it.
what I had for breakfast today as well?
What'd you have?
Well, I knew I was coming down, and I had a venison steak that I had to cook.
damn.
So it would have just gone off by the
So
time
nutritious.
that I got
Back
got
to
home.
Crockertown.
After a few days. So I did some boiled eggs.
Oh man,
And
you're a
I
man after my heart.
I cut up that venison
Venison.
steak into like thinner
Chunks.
not chunks, but thinner
Slices.
Like slices, so I could do
slivers.
them a couple of
Slivers.
minutes each side rather than like
A
cooking
full-on
them.
blown chunk of steak.
Oh man, so I just had venison steaks seasoned up real nice and some boiled eggs.
Joe
And
Rogan
it
would be
felt
proud.
so good, man.
Joe Rogan would be proud. Yeah, and so
He
would
would
people
be.
like Jocko.
I was
Willink.
proud of myself.
Well, I'm proud of you. I bet right now, I think right inside of you right now, you don't even realize
Yeah.
what's going on.
It was a good full. And for breakfast, having that for breakfast is quite like a late breakfast, like 10:30 in the morning.
I have to say, you're looking good for it as well.
Yeah, man. Your
Skin's looking vibrant. You're looking
Woke
quite
me up.
full of energy.
Healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
Protein for breakfast. Say protein is a good thing to get
Oh,
in
yeah.
straight away for the start of the day. And it's like, whew,
Tell you what, as well, there's a hell of a lot of good nutrients in that venison, in that deer. You know,
wild venison.
well, yeah, wild venison, super good for you, man. You know, not this like farm animals; they were living free, hunted.
They were running around the estates of Britain.
And the thing is as well, it's like eco-friendly as well, because a lot of people might say, well, for the people out there that would say, why did you have to shoot that deer?
They get cold, man. They got to for the populations.
Well, I tell you what, you're doing them a favor, and I'll explain why, right? The main reason usually why old male stags die is usually through combat with other younger stags, right? So what will usually happen is obviously they got these big antlers.
Battle.
Say they have a battle. Say they get stabbed by a rival's antler. It gets infected. They are going to be in extreme pain for days, if not
Bad
weeks.
way to go.
And the thing is, in say the United States, like elk over there, elk and deer, like the deer we have in the UK, like red deer, etc., roe deer, etc. They're closely related. The red deer is closely related to the elk, but just because of the fact they've been separated from evolution for
they went on their own course.
Yeah, but they're basically the same animal, slightly different color, and I think elk are a little bit bigger. But that's about the only difference, right? They're essentially the same animal. Really, really close common ancestor. But in America, say they'd get an infection like that, something like a bear or some wolves are probably going to take them
They
down
don't sniff that.
within a couple of days. But in the UK, because bears and wolves are extinct in the UK and have been for about 1,000 years now, that deer's going to die real slow.
Slow death of pain, discomfort.
Days turn into weeks. Think you've got a nasty infection in your leg
son.
while you were just impaled by this rival stag and you're walking through the cold air. And there's nothing you can do about it. And you're just, the pain
God
is...
damn, I don't want
every
that.
step you take, the pus seeps out of the wound.
Damn.
And
That's not good.
This blacky blood mixed in with it. It's just coagulated, pussy blood.
Damn.
And then that's a slow, agonizing death. So it's not only good for that reason, but it's good for another reason. Think young stags by nature are going to obviously fight for the right to mate. But what happens is obviously very young male stags are not going to be as big and as good at fighting as established dominant stags. So what happens is, say these older bull stags, they see that a young buck is coming up. He's starting to look like a rival. He'll often fight it and kill it before it gets a chance to mate. But obviously what this means is there's not the diversity in the gene pool which leads to a healthy environment. Just like with humans, it's like inbreeding, right? If it was just one man that was just mating with all the women, the population would suffer.
Y'all get some funny babies.
You get weird babies. The health of the health and the genetics, the gene pool of what you want to do. You want to spread that around like ingredients in a big stew.
Mongrels.
Yeah, you want to be like mongrels. You want to be. So what you want to do is an experienced and a responsible hunter will target some very older male stags. He'll put it out of its misery, ethically. A quick shot to a place that it won't even ever know what happened. Right? You're taking that out of the gene pool. It means it won't die a real painful, slow death. It means it won't kill younger stags, and it's opening up that gene pool to all these other younger stags. And at the same time, yourself can then benefit from this wild stag's meat. Goes, the circle of life, ladies and gentlemen. This is the circle of life we're talking about right now. We ingest that venison, super nutritious.
Vitamins.
This is a stag that has lived off the land, walking tens, if not hundreds of miles, maybe a day. Fighting, running, walking, making...
Eating the berries.
Eating vegetation, making sweet love, and you're taking in all that goodness. That's vitalizing you. That's better than farm bought meat. And that's better than eating like a frickin' cabbage.
Revitalized.
I'll tell you that right now. That's nothing against the humble cabbage. I like cabbage. But if I had to choose between a wild venison steak and a cabbage, I'd go with venison. No brainer.
No brainer.
Y'all ever seen I don't know whether it is stags or it's a type of deer or elk, but shedding their antlers.
They all shed their antlers.
They all shed.
Yeah.
See, I saw it the other day and it was crazy. And this it just went like this. It just... So then it's crazy shake like that and
Yeah.
So they get furry, don't they?
Every year, all deer species shed their antlers except for one, and I said it on the pod. Were either of you paying attention? Can you remember Bullwinkle?
No, man, I'm afraid I can't.
There's one species of deer that doesn't shed their antlers, and I don't even know if biologists and zoologists know why. It's
keeper deer.
The reindeer.
The reindeer.
The reindeer.
Oh,
the
damn.
reindeer.
Their antlers reign supreme, you could say. Reindeers, for some reason, do not shed their antlers. All other
Damn.
deer species do.
It's that special magic they get from Santa Claus.
It's the Father Christmas magic. That's right. It's up in Lapland. Something special happens.
Yeah, he gives them that magic, so you're going to keep them all year round, every year.
I wonder why that is the case, though.
And when you're saying about furry antlers, that's before they are actually developed.
Right, so that's
furry
in the
first.
process.
Yeah, the process of them growing is what makes them furry.
Ah.
And then they lose the fur, and then they're left with their real antlers.
Have
I
you
saw
seen that
once.
vampire deer that you saw
Yeah.
the other week?
Oh, yeah, man.
Seen it again?
No, I'm not seeing it again.
Not following you.
Maybe that's what tried to get in your house the other week.
Damn,
you were
man.
away. Well, while Drewster the Bear was out staying down our neck of the woods a couple of weeks ago, young Megan had a little scary incident in the middle of the night, didn't she? She was up in bed.
The dog Rupert was
He looked up like that.
barking
He looked
like
up.
crazy, and
You
he
know
was
what a dog
going,
do? And then he started making the noise, and Meg heard someone trying to get in the door downstairs.
heard the whole the handle go.
That's like someone from a
That was
horror
the last
movie.
thing of it. Never happened again since.
Never happened before.
Could see no
Never
sign
happened
of
since.
such things happening around.
I-
Nothing got
damn.
taken from the garden or anyone's house or shed or anything. So it's a bit weird.
There's two options. It was the vampire deer, or it was the spirit
Of the dread.
of the Peruvian dreadlock.
Oh,
Man,
dear.
don't scare me about that.
Do you mind if we talk about that on
I
air?
don't mind. Yeah, go for it.
So
But it
Drew
is a
went.
bit scary.
Drew went to Peru a few years ago, and he went to this place where there's like dreadlocks of folks that are literally thousands of years old. And you might be listening to this if you don't know what I'm talking about. You might be like, "That's rubbish. What do you want about?" No, I'm telling you, folks. Right there, the ancient civilization that lived there, they used to grow their hair their entire lives, and they used to dreadlock their hair. So some of them had like 6 foot long dreadlocks, right? And obviously they were put in tombs when they died, but they were placed in there with their belongings. And unfortunately, as is the way with some of the more greedy members of our society, grave robbers obviously exist, and they would plunder these tombs. But they would also very disrespectful. They would unceremoniously sort of rummage through the tombs and they're
Just leave the
as a
bodies
result
just out there.
to the wild, and as a result the bones and the hairs and stuff because the dreadlocks don't, they're quite a hardy
Especially in
thing.
that climate as well, where it's not
Exactly.
much rain. Because this is Nazca.
This
So
is
Nazca
Nazca.
in Peru, it's where you get the Nazca
Car
lines,
lines.
the famous Nazca
famous
lines.
NASCAR lines.
And you don't really get much rain there, so
No.
it's very, very dry. So it keeps them, it keeps that hair in a condition where it can just stay not rotting away.
So I would have thought that, like you said, it would have rotted away, but I guess that's why.
But yeah, so there were these dreadlocks there, and Drew took some dreadlocks home.
I took just a little bit of a
Just
dreadlock.
a little bit of a dreadlock. And now we were saying, man, that's bad voodoo.
That is bad voodoo.
We were saying that's bad voodoo.
Am I now getting haunted?
Has he been cursed by the spirit of some South American shaman?
Just some things have been going wrong in my life in the last year or two.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit, I'm like, has it
Had
got
some
anything to
had
do
some
with
crypto
that?
issues.
Yep,
Crashed
lost
your
a lot of money.
motorbike. Crashed your motorbike.
Yep.
Lost a bit of money in crypto.
Shouldn't have taken the
Damn,
hair.
son.
Should not have taken the dreadlock, man. But hindsight's always 20/20. But so it was either I reckon that it was either the spirit of the Peruvian man or it was the vampire deer. Either way, quite horrific for a young lady at home alone.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was, and being so far away, you think I can't actually do anything right now. It would take me an hour and a half to get
You were
back
in
to you.
Cannington
Yeah, I was
at the
like,
time,
God
yeah.
dang, that's gonna take me a while to get there.
Cannington's a good hour and a half
Good luck.
drive.
Look down the side of the. I said, look down the side of the bed.
There's a kukri.
That's where I keep my kukri.
Kukri. Yeah.
Grab that. Pray.
Keep that and pray to God. But
Good advice.
I mean, kukris are mighty sharp. It's almost
I
like
got a few of them dotted around the house.
arguably the greatest cutting weapon known to man. In terms of just pure chopping power. They got that curve in the blade. It sort of starts thick and it gets a little bit thinner at the curve and then gets thicker again. Sort of goes around. It's almost like a bit like a scythe.
Yeah.
But not like a smooth, like round
It's a
curve
very
like
cool
a scythe.
knife. Very cool knife.
Yeah, it is brutal, man. It's a brutal knife. I can't remember where. I think it originates from Asia. It might be the Middle East. It might be the Middle East.
Gurkhas. The
The Gurkhas, Middle East. Then.
yeah.
Middle East. I thought.
It's the national weapon of the Gurkhas. I
very,
think.
very great people, Gurkhas. I was going to say, Gurkhas, you are friends of the pod. Very honorable people. Great warriors. Very respectful. I won't accept hearing a bad word about the Gurkhas.
But it's pretty cool. As the Gurkha army, even the modern Gurkha army, they all have their Gurkha knives.
Yeah.
So they have
isn't
these
it on
as
a
part of
flag?
their-
I don't know what flag it would be, but I feel like that
Gurkha?
knife, a kukri.
Oh, a kukri?
I think it's on a flag.
A kukri
I
flag.
don't know what flag.
I'll look it up for you.
Maybe
young
I'm wrong. Maybe I'm
Kukri-
thinking of a different knife. But who
Kukri
knows?
flag.
Who knows?
Kukri flag. I cannot see a picture of a kukri
I must
on
have
a
just
flag.
made it up.
Might be a scythe, maybe, or something.
Bullwinkle
Maybe some
ma-
kind of knife on a
sword.
flag.
Bullwinkle made it up, folks.
I made it
He
up.
Made
My
it
bad.
Up, but
My
not
bad.
deliberately. Not deliberately. But yeah, they're brutal weapons, man.
Yeah,
Brutal weapons.
And you hear some crazy stories about the Gurkhas as well, man.
Oh,
like
you do.
How kind of brave they are. And
There's like a freaking regiment of Gurkhas in the British Army. Did you know that?
yeah,
Did you know that? It's crazy, isn't it?
Damn.
And they're really like,
and they were the first. They were the first security that were brought in at the Hinkley, the power station.
Yeah.
As it was all being built, they had like Gurkha guards. You know.
they actually had Gurkha guards?
Yeah, at
Damn.
that. That's where I got all these kukris from, man.
Wow.
These blades from a security guard who used to work with the Gurkhas, and he gave me his collection of Gurkha knives straight from the hands
That's
of the
amazing.
Gurkha people.
Damn.
Have we got it set up today, folks? So that,
We have. Here we are.
So look, here's a look. It says head of the British Army inspects new Gurkhas in Nepal. So there's the head of the British Army, and he's looking at these are all Gurkhas. These are men that are trained from birth.
Oh, look at that one with his in his mouth. He got your Gurkha knife in his mouth. You see that picture?
Oh, sure, I'll find it. Don't you worry. Let's just click off this a little bit so I got a little bit more scope. Where is it? Oh, here.
Yeah, look at that. That's
Look
a
at that
Gurkha
man.
knife. That's a
Better,
Gurkha knife.
and then the head of this article is better die than be a coward. The Gurkha Brigade by the Ministry of Defense, voices of the armed forces. Yeah, so these men, they are
That looks just like my Gurkha knife.
for enemies of the British Army. The Gurkha Regiment are probably one of the last regiments you'd want to encounter because, as it says there, better die than be a coward. These are one of those men, one of these societies, I should say, that it's like a remnants of a bygone era. They're like modern day Spartans, folks. For people that don't know much about the Gurkhas, like look them up. If anybody out there that's listening, you're interested in military history, or in just like or just interested in like interesting cultures, research the Gurkhas. They are like modern day Spartans, folks. They are brought up not just as warriors though. The things I like about them, they're like honorable warriors, super respectful, super honorable. But yeah, like the title says, they would rather die than be a coward. There is no surrender. They are warriors through and through. Look, here's some other cool pictures of them. Look, here they are. The Gurkha, and the headline is "World's Toughest Soldier." So it's not just me that's bigging them up. There's look at all these accounts that says about them. I have to say I'm very proud as a UK citizen to have the Gurkha Regiment as a part of the British Army.
So cool,
As I
man.
said, you are friends of the pods, gentlemen, and obviously all the
She
Gurkha women
likes
too.
that one.
I don't know so much about Gurkha women. I don't know so much about their role in society.
Apparently, so Luke, who is a top security guy at the
used to
at
go out
Hinkley
with your
Point.
sister
He
Savannah.
certainly did, and he was telling me about one of the Gurkha's wives.
Right.
He would actually go over to their place and they'd cook up these amazing curries.
Right.
These Nepalese curries, and apparently they're so good.
So I imagine it's probably more one of those really old-fashioned societies where like the women more like have their old-fashioned role of like they're the ones that they provide the food and bring up the children, and that sort of sacred role of the mother and the wife, and then the men are like the warriors. I know it might sound like old, outdated to some folks, but I think we got to respect the fact that that's their culture and that's the way that they choose to live, and I guess it's like it works for them.
Give me some of that Gurkha curry, man.
It works for them,
I'd like to try that. I know that for sure.
And I'm sure, I'm sure those women are very proud to be in those roles, because, I even thinking about, say, the women in my family that I look up to that have provided for me, like, I think sometimes in modern society, in the West at least, it's almost like looked down upon a little bit, like cheapened, like the role of a mother or a grandmother in terms of like that traditional role, like you see with these Gurkha women, Whereas I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I also obviously don't think there's anything wrong if a woman doesn't ever want to have a family and wants to just be a career woman. But I think to be like a mother and to be like the backbone of a household, and to be that provider, that's like a sacred role. That's the matriarchal role. That is one of the key foundations, not just of a home, of a culture, but of us, this whole entire society. And to act like that, is to cheapen that in any way, I think is not only a disservice to all mothers, grandmothers, and women out there, but it's a disservice to mankind itself.
Certainly is, man.
Absolutely.
But Gurkhas.
There's a nurturing energy of a woman.
Yeah, definitely.
That is so beautiful. I see it even with my beloved Megan and my dog Rupert. She sees him in a different way that I do, you know.
Right.
There's just naturally, like in the household. I mean, I haven't got any kids, so I don't, you know, I don't.
Yeah. Your closest thing got to it is a dog.
Yeah, and just to even feel or see that the way we kind of both are and
the difference,
things, you know, and it's interesting, man. But there is this motherly nurturing
side that comes out to play.
Know? And I think it's beautiful to behold, man. It's
I
nice.
think it is, man, and I think like as well, like take say like I don't know so much with your name Bullwinkle, but I know very much that my grandmother Eileen and your grandmother Mary, very much the way they are as a bit more of that old-fashioned British way of life. It's like both of our grandfathers were in the military, so I guess they were bringing home the bread, so to speak. Doesn't mean our grandmothers didn't work, because I know that both of our grandmothers worked, but they were the main bread earners, etc. But both of our grandfathers sort of rely on our grandmothers to keep them sort of in check and running.
Yeah.
You know, and you might, you know, on the surface.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, and I can see it with your grandparents the same as I see it with mine. It's almost like both of our grandfathers are very intelligent and capable men, obviously, you know, but, you know, it's like their brains, it'll be a bit more aloof, and it's taken over a little bit more. And I know with my grandfather, and I can see it with your grandmother and grandfather as well, it's like both my grandmother Eileen and Mary, your grandmother, it's like they're the ones that'll be like, you know, Tommy or Jonathan, like, you're supposed to be doing this or go and do, and, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, they'll thank you for that, you know, and then they'll go and, you know, it's like the organization, you know, keeping them in check. It's almost like, maybe for our grandfathers that both had a military background, it's like their new drill sergeant are their wives. You know, we're in their home, their drill sergeants are their wives.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
man.
Remember we're doing this today. You know, don't do that. We're talking about this, remember?
Yeah,
it's keeping
beautiful
them...
companionship, man.
Yeah,
There's seeing how long their relationship has been and how it's worked for them over the years, just that natural order of things in the household, you know. It's a beautiful thing to behold as well. And it's something that's not seen so much in our modern society now, that prolonged relationship that you have. They were together since she was 13 years old.
Like 60
and now they're
decades.
both in their 80s. No, my granddad's in his 90s and my nan's in her late 80s.
I think like 6-7 decades.
Yeah, that just I can't even imagine that happening now in this
of highs and lows and in between
life that we live, you know.
Yeah,
and you know, they have a lot of respect for each other. They keep each other in check.
That's right.
And or more, my name will keep my granddad in check.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have a lot of love, and
right.
they've shared that for many years. And I look up so much to my grandparents in that respect.
Yeah, I do too, my friend.
Because even my relationships from when you get into relationships from an early age, it's just a different game now. Like how we live in this time. You know, it always has been, and it's like.
Do you know what I was thinking recently? And it's an interesting thing to think about. And there is no right or wrong answer, you know. I think it's really important to be open-minded and liberal, of course. So, like, you know, I think people got to do what's right for them. But I think especially like in cities, even things like polygamy are on the rise. You know, and I find it interesting. And I think like because we're from a more rural area, I think it's a lot rarer, like in the towns and in the villages. But I think in big cities, especially like a place like London. I think it's like not that uncommon to be polygamous.
You know, like back in the day, like cultures that we don't have anymore, like the Romans and things like that.
Yeah.
Was polygamy a thing back then?
Well, I don't know if
were they a lot freer.
I don't know if they would have called it polygamy, but I mean, obviously, it was really common in ancient Rome, like and ancient Greece. Like, you know, you would go to a dinner party, And this is
y'all like
this
the
is
keys in the middle.
This is like
putting the keys in swingers party.
Yeah, it's a hilarious concept nowadays. But obviously, yeah, we have swingers parties nowadays, but it's more the exception than the rule. But I know that we've never done that with our friendship group.
No,
but
I wouldn't say no, but
yeah. I mean, a couple of drinks, I would never say never. I'm quite a free soul, but and I know that you're the same. But I think a couple of our friends would find it a little bit weird. Yeah, it was quite common in ancient Rome and Greece. You know, you go for a meal with your friends, go to your friend's house, say four of your guy friends and all their wives or girlfriends. And at the end of the night, you'd all just have an orgy.
And the gladiators and stuff would come up.
Yeah, you just have an orgy. You're thinking of Spartacus.
Oh,
sort of thing.
yeah, man,
Not everyone would have just had gladiators down below, Drew, you know, but every household's just got a bunch of jacked gladiators in the basement, you know, ready to come up and serve your wife. But, I mean,
Do you think it comes with the world being more connected due to phones,
polygamy?
internet? Yeah, do you think that's one of the reasons it's on the rise?
I'm kind of exploring as well whether it's just a change in attitude of different cultures.
I think that's more
as well. You know,
I don't think it's
like
gonna,
you know,
because with the connection thing, that wouldn't explain why it was like that in Rome or Greece, where they obviously had a very liberal attitude towards things like sex. You know, and they were the opposite of prudish. You know, they would have been, you could be naked in ancient Greece, no one would bat an eyelid. In fact, all the Olympic Games,
they were done naked.
Everyone was completely naked. Can you imagine the Olympics nowadays and you stick on the television and everyone, say you're watching like any event, shot put, you know, 800-meter rate running.
Y'all just see it
and everyone's just completely stark naked. You know, there's just...
I would quite like it. I think it's a very natural way of doing things. That it's all we've almost gone away from that a bit now. So I'm kind of like exploring. Is that
should we all be naked?
Yeah, should we all be naked? And should we all be making love to each other at dinner parties? You know, like it was in Greece. And you know, yeah, why is it happening now more?
Should we be making love to each other like it was in Greece?
And like, you know, you're saying about...
Should we put it forward?
Yeah, I think we should. But that might be a reason, you know, nowadays in this modern culture, I'm kind of thinking like, you know, that we're exploring a lot more.
Yeah.
So like, is that just a part of like, you know, what you're saying about being more connected and stuff? Or is it like, we're just like, you know how there's all this like woke culture and all that? It's like, there, you know, nothing's wrong, but everything's wrong. Like that kind of thing. Are we just going more into that?
That's a good way to say it. Nothing's wrong, but everything's wrong. That's a good way of saying it. It is sort of like that, isn't it? But I think as well, I think on almost like a common sense point of view, I think you can sort of see why certain things would happen. I think that if you say you grew up in an area like we do, a bit more rural, in like towns that are surrounded by villages, blah blah blah, I think it is a bit more of an old-fashioned way of life.
Yeah.
And I think even if you have like a big sort of business job or something like that here, you know, you're more likely, say you get with a girl from like a little village around, you know, she's probably got, you know, more of that village community, probably got parents, grandparents of a similar, you know, and it's, you know, we're a bit behind the cities, if you want to call it behind, whatever, more traditional.
So y'all
maybe.
think this happening more in the cities?
Yeah, and I think, you know, so you can see why, you know, you might get a partner, you naturally are, you know, gonna be on you're not gonna be in a polygamous relationship. It's called monogamy, isn't it?
Yeah, monogamous.
Yeah,
monogamous
relationship.
You and
monogamy. Yeah, so you're not naturally gonna be in a monogamous relationship. Whereas I think, say, with the city, I can really see it in my head. Like, say you're a girl that, or a guy, you're in secondary school. You think, when I leave here, I want to live in the city. I'm gonna move to London, right? Say you're 16, you go to college in London, or say you're 18,
all kinds
you
of
finish
crazy
college
stuff
and you
going
go to
down
university
there.
in London. It's the rat race. There's no set tradition in London. There's people everywhere, things 24/7 everywhere, all these different cultures. So you can't really, so you don't really have like any backbone of tradition or culture, because it's this complete mishmash of all these different cultures. But at the same time, there's sort of no culture, you know. And it's like you get a job. Say you get a job in some busy office somewhere. You know, there's like guys and girls all over the shop. You end up going to a party. It's just super strange to us.
What about
they all end
like,
up banging?
Yeah, man. What about
And then you
like,
go. And then I think, do you know what? I quite like this. I don't really want to be locked down. I don't want somebody getting jealous of me. I don't want to be locked down. I want to keep my options open.
I think it's more insecurities sometimes that'll keep people wanting to be monogamous rather than that actual like being like free, true and free with your desires. You know,
I think it depends because I think like I'm quite like a, I don't know if this would be a surprise to people or not. I'm quite like a romantic guy, so like I think that if you are completely in love with somebody and they're in love with you too, and you want to have like a monogamous relationship, I think that's really beautiful and good and quite sacred. But at the same time, I'm not at all like a jealous guy. But I think I think the main thing is like honesty.
Yeah,
I think if your partner makes out to you that she wants a monogamous relationship, and then you find out 2 years later that she's been banging Simon behind your back, then you're like, what the hell, woman?
Yeah, man.
I've been faithful to you, and I thought you wanted one-on-one relationship. Why did you say you wanted a one-on-one relationship?
Where's the honesty there?
If you've been getting with Simon, you know, because now I feel like I've been disrespected. And I sort of want to punch Simon. And I don't really feel like I want to be around you much either right now. So it's like, about, I think the main thing is transparency and honesty. I said, you know, if you want to, don't put up a facade that you want to be in a monogamous relationship and then freaking go do dirtin'. Go do dirtin'.
Go do dirtin'. I think it's interesting as well, like other cultures, say more in our European zone, like Prague and Amsterdam, where you got like the red light district, and it's very open in their culture to practice, prostitutism. Prostitution, that's the one. You know, but I've never been in that world or...
of prostitution?
Or like experienced it, like, you know, like
Drew's never been pimped
being immersed in that culture where prostitution is normal and it's
embraced
actually
in the culture of prostitution.
Yeah, you know what I mean? No, not me being a prostitute, maybe partaking in some prostitution. You know?
Right? No,
what I mean? The other side of thing where it's very like normal.
Yeah, no, I have to say I haven't done that either.
There's like
we have some
like
friends that have.
Yeah, I
I'm
know,
not
man.
gonna name any names.
And for me, it's very interesting. Like that whole culture where it's much more open, you know, and practiced as like as an industry. You know, like
here's another thing to add on to that.
What's that?
Obviously, in recent times, I feel like religion is something
dwindling.
Yeah, exactly. It's dwindling. At one time, everybody would have been religious, or they would have had to put on a front that they were. And obviously, one of the 7 deadly sins is adultery.
Yeah, sure.
So I think that's something
Keeps
that would have been put through, and then everyone would have taught their kids, you can't do this. Whereas now, times are changing. Religion is dwindling. Maybe that's the reason why there is this switch in mindset.
I think that's a good point. Like, I think like the sanctity of marriage
is not such an important thing now.
Yeah, it was considered like a sacred thing. Like you can't break that, and if you break that, it's almost like you might go to hell. Maybe.
Oh yeah, man. So there's a lot of fear there. That's kind of why it was keeping.
Whereas we're going a little bit more like the Greeks and the Romans now. The same way that the Greeks brought us lots of great stuff. Like they brought us, philosophy, democracy, science, mathematics. But even though they were religious, you could tell that they sort of. They had like a hedonistic lifestyle. And I think that was part of their religion as well. Their religion was more hedonistic. I think that the religions that came about later, because obviously the Greeks worshipped like paganism, their Greek pantheon of Zeus and Aphrodite and all that, and you know Aphrodite herself, which was goddess of love. So you know making love was considered like you were
sacred act.
You were like worshiping
Aphrodites.
Yeah, Aphrodite. If you were like making love to somebody. So in fact. I got a pretty good quickfire fact, which I'll give you all in a little bit. But I know, actually, I'll just tell you.
Just give it us now, man.
I can't remember. Right, the thing is, I think I got it somewhere, so I might find it and tell you, amend it in a little bit. But the gist of it was, there was a beautiful woman that had to stand before court in, I think it was Athens in ancient Greece. And I can't remember what she did wrong, so I'll find out in a little bit. But anyway, she was put before these people for something to do with sexual reasons, right?
Sexual misconduct.
And she had to go before like a judge and jury essentially. And they said like, well, you know, what would you say in your defense? And she stripped off naked in front of them all, right? And apparently she was like A grade, the most beautiful woman you could ever see. You know, like face beautiful, could be better, the most beautiful feminine body you've ever seen. She stripped off in front of them and said like, I have obviously been blessed by the gods and Aphrodite herself, and it is my responsibility to make love. And if you killed me, you would be showing open disrespect to the gods. And the judge thought fair enough, and they just let her off.
Damn.
I'll see you after the show.
Because they were like literally like you to be that beautiful and to have that body, you must.
That's really
you,
good,
you,
man.
you
I
must
like that.
Aphrodite herself must have made you as an instrument of love. So what you're doing is you're not doing anything wrong. What you're doing is you're spreading the love of Aphrodite as like an instrument of her will on earth. And they thought fair enough, and they just let her go about her business.
Damn.
It's like that thing of like, you know, what's right and what's wrong, and like what you said about relationships, about, you know, if there's trust and if there's honesty there. I think that's the same with love. Like, you know, like you can share love if you're being honest about that. If there's any way of like kind of anything bad like to that, like dominance, or like, you know, in a way of controlling or
dominance,
things
controlling,
like that.
jealousy.
But like, you know, love should be shared openly, and that's a good thing. But a lot of the time, it does bring up all of those things of jealousy and like polygamous relationships. Like, I don't think myself I would find that very easy, because I would be like,
you get a bit green.
Yeah, man. I can imagine that coming up in myself, you know, and just being like,
if you looked over and I was balls deep in your missus?
man, I could not get on that. I could not get on that, you know, and you know, it's just like, and that's what I mean. And I think that's a great man, Aubrey Marcus, who I really like, podcaster. He was talking about a 7-year polygamous relationship that he had with his then fiance Whitney Miller,
right?
And he was explaining some of these stories about her going off with, you know, and then how it like you would question like the way that you made love compared to the way they made love, and then be like maybe thinking about all this
you
stuff.
Can't
and
think
like,
about that.
I know, but
you can't think about that.
It could come up.
But you could think about it. Yeah,
exactly.
I agree.
But what I'm saying is sometimes
insecurity.
it's a natural like occurrence for those things to come up if you have certain insecurities, and sometimes, you know, it's easier said than done to just be like, don't have that insecurity, or don't think about that. Like, why are you thinking about that? But sometimes you do, and it's like, God damn, that's hard. So it's like, if it's all that, that's when it can get icky and sticky, and I'm glad I'm in a monogamous relationship, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before we go on, I just want to apologize to you and to Megan for my balls deep comment. But I was just trying to like hone in.
On
just
a point.
drive in a point.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what she said. But sorry, I can't help myself. But no, I think you're right. I think, as I said, if you were, say, in an open relationship, and you did follow polygamy, the philosophy of polygamy, you know, it could lead to things like, you know, insecurity, you know, jealousy.
How to manage all that stuff.
If you know that
natural occurrences.
If you know that your missus is seeing a guy that you could see, you know,
as a potential threat almost.
Well, yeah, you know, say I don't know, say he's wealthier than you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Or he's in better shape than you.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's more...
And that's going to be pretty much true for any man.
Or maybe you might think that he's more charming than you.
Yeah.
Any of those things. Or maybe you think that they have more in common than you.
Yeah.
And that could lead to insecurities, which could be damaging. And that is definitely why I think that things like polygamy is not only not for everyone, but not for a high percentage of the population. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, to be that level of free is quite extreme. But I mean, I do know some people like it though.
Yeah,
I know,
and it's very interesting as well when you think polygamy. Of like different the way that say men are compared to women sometimes. Like, I was hearing this thing about, you know, you think of the Khans and you think of, like, really, really high-profile men that have been in throughout history. Like, you know, like emperors, like things like that. Like
Alexander.
Genghis Khan. Yeah. You know, like...
Genghis. Alexander.
It would be so ingrained into just, like, the pecking order of things, like, with that.
Well, that he would mate with everyone.
Yeah, like, that he would have his main wife, but then he would have mistresses and concubines and all of that stuff. And basically, the idea is that when you're like that level of male or alpha, you know, on that
alpha
thing,
domination,
then a woman will not mind that happening, and that's weird. For me, it's a weird concept because you think that all those jealousies would arise, but when it gets to that level, it's like it just doesn't arise.
Well, I think it's natural for both sexes to want for whatever, you know, is your sexual orientation. You want the person that you desire. The more you don't obviously think about it like this in some weird anal way, but like the more higher on the pecking order they are, you know, the more physically attractive they are, the more talented they are. All of these things will make them more attractive to you, whether you realize it or not. And I think in those ancient societies, you know, you had people like Attila the Hun, like Genghis Khan, like Alexander the Great. They were so far and above even the second male in that society that it's would have been ingrained in like the DNA of the women to want to be with the alpha. And I think in that instance, like I'm pretty sure that Genghis Khan has something like 50 wives. But then he also would have just slept with any other woman he felt like it. If he was walking through the street and he saw a woman, he thought that woman's beautiful.
And the question is for me, it's like, how do the women feel about that? And a lot of the time, you think they would hate it, but when it gets to that level, it's like they don't even mind.
Well, I can't remember if it was Genghis Khan, but I think, he would have had like his favorite wives as well. So I expect they were all vying to be like the favorite wives.
Yeah, and it's like even the wives would help pick the concubines and help actually.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? So
like
they would actually be involved in that process of like, I think he's gonna like that one.
Maybe in their head that was a way of them being a better wife to him.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, I'm sure there were some women that didn't want to. Maybe they just found it too intimidating. Because the thing is, with someone like Genghis Khan, like if you did somehow displease them, and then you could do it accidentally, then I guess there was there was always. I mean, I don't know what the sort of discipline was for, say, like the common discipline was for say like a woman in that society and culture, but I expect there was like physical punishment and maybe even death if you displeased the Khan enough. So there was always the risk of that.
Yeah. So that would be keeping some of those thoughts at bay.
I do think it's interesting though. As I said, there's at least two people I can think of the top of my head that follow polygamy, and it's interesting. One of them I sort of know well enough that I spoke to them in depth about it, and they just said straight up to me. Interestingly, both of the people I know are both women. Both women, and interesting. I don't know why. That's just maybe just pure chance, or maybe nowadays there's something about society that makes that more appealing to women. I don't know, but the one that I was closer to that I spoke in depth about it said that she thought straight up that monogamous relationships were unnatural, and that it was like a thing that humankind has created in more recent history. And that it's like unnatural to be like that. I neither agree or disagree with that. I actually think that I personally think that back in hunter-gatherer societies, I still think there would have been a high level of monogamy. I still think it would have been fairly common. I know you see it in the animal kingdom. There's lots of animals that follow monogamous relationships.
There's a book called Sex at Dawn. I think you should look into that. I read a little bit of it, but apparently it's all about that, about tribal, like hunter-gatherers societies.
I know that even things like beavers, they will mate and they'll pair for life. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, man. There's the natural part of it, but then there's also other animals that are completely different from that. So it's like, it's, both ways are natural.
Yeah,
I think it's quite interesting to look at other apes, because obviously the great apes were part of the great ape family. The great apes are chimpanzees, orangutans, gorillas, and humans. And I think it's interesting to look at them, to compare them, because obviously that's really gives us a lot of insight. And very much like we were talking about with like the old, societies of people like Genghis Khan and Alexander the Great, etc. What usually will happen in, say, like a chimp and a gorilla society is that it will literally be the dominant male will mate with every female in the tribe, and no other males are allowed to mate. And if the alpha male catches,
they do get in there, but if he's
caught,
hell to play,
then he's gonna get the bejesus beaten out of him, and he might even be killed, torn to shreds by these giant alpha gorilla or giant alpha chimp. So there's a lot of consequences, and your only hope is that maybe one day you grow strong enough that you can take over. You can beat the dominant either gorilla or chimp in unarmed combat, and then you are and then you get to mate with everyone. But otherwise, you're just basically just this little beta that's just sitting around, just playing with your little todger in amongst the undergrowth. A sad existence. So you bet, and it's interesting as well that it's just based on pure might. Because obviously, humankind, we have martial arts, and there are lots of little things that maybe a guy that's not as big could beat a guy that's a bit bigger, maybe, if you're talented enough and the bigger guy has zero training. But it's just pure, unadulterated, just physicality in that world. It's like, if you're bigger and you're stronger, you are the alpha.
That's the way of nature, man.
If you're the biggest gorilla, You're going to be able to hit harder.
And that's what I mean. And that's how we
There's no
kinda,
go-go plotters
and that's
or rear
that thing
naked
of us
chokes.
kind of deviating from nature quite a lot. That whole thing, like, you know,
We found cheat
need
codes.
and do we need to reconnect with nature, which everyone thinks we does, going more into the technology and using your brain and like brain over body and all of that stuff. And it's like we're making this like diversion from that, and that's why it's not like that with humans a lot of the time. You know?
I think that's a pretty good segue, and I know we wanted to talk a little bit about some advancement in AI today, so we'll get into that in a little bit. We got to have a little break in a second, but before that, should we have some Quickfire Facts? Give me a second, folks. Let me just find some Quickfire Facts for y'all.
Quickfire fact time.
I know I've saved quite a few over the last couple of weeks. This is the one about the Greek lady. I can go into a little bit more detail. According to Greek legend, there was a lady called Phryne. I'm just gonna say that it's like Phryne. Pyrrhine, maybe. Pyrrhine probably sounds better. She was a famous prostitute. She managed to avoid a death sentence by showing the judges her bare naked body. And she argued to the court, "How could I possibly commit blasphemy if the gods have given me a body such as this? It would be a crime against the gods to destroy something so beautiful." Because in ancient Greek society, exceptional beauty was a sign of favor from the gods. And so she was let go. I thought that was a fascinating little fact there.
Imagine the confidence to be able to go up there and say that. You'd have to be pretty confident in your body.
I think
knew her trade well.
I think as well, to be fair, I think, I think sometimes, let's face it, if you're blessed with exceptional beauty,
y'all know it.
You're going to be more confident than maybe someone that doesn't feel as blessed. You know? Another quick fire fact for you now. Did you know that there was once a chicken called Mike? And he remained alive for 18 months. That's right, 18 months
without a head
after his head had been cut off.
I heard about that.
Headless chicken.
For 18 months,
it's
though.
crazy, man.
A year and a half.
Brain gone.
There's even a picture of him. You can see a picture of him, headless Mike, the chicken. I'll get him
That's
up
crazy.
a little bit.
Didn't like the farmer used to like syringe food into it where his neck was and stuff, and that's how.
I don't know. Well, probably.
I was
think
gonna
that
say,
was
otherwise he would have died, wouldn't he?
Is there a lot of thought behind what this chicken was doing, or was it just kind of wandering around endlessly?
I think so.
Just wandering around.
Yeah.
And
But it
would
must
get
have
fed by the farmer.
Yeah, it
for
must have
its-
been fed because
Yeah.
otherwise it would have died of malnutrition.
That is crazy. That you would think for the chicken's like legs to work, you would almost still need the brain to be intact.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Just
man,
want to do a
it's so
little
weird.
notice for this next fact, ladies and gentlemen. It is a little bit extreme, so what's the
Viewer
word I'm
discretion
looking-
is advised.
Viewer discretion is advised. Thank you, young Bullwinkle. There was a lady called Marianne Backmeyer, and she is unfortunately her 7-year-old daughter was raped and murdered by a fellow. She walked into the courtroom during his sentencing, and she shot him dead right then and there in front of everyone in the courtroom.
Good.
Fair
Say
play.
her name is Marianne Backmeyer. The mother killed the killer of her daughter in court. I just think my heart goes out to that woman and to her poor darling daughter. As a father of a girl, I can only imagine what that would be like, and I would do the same thing if I could. So, bless that little girl, and bless you, Marianne Backmeyer. Hope that she ended up getting out of prison and led a pretty good life, as good a life as you can anyway under those circumstances. Let me get up some more quick fire facts for you now, folks. Let's have a look. Give me 2 seconds. Drew, whistle a tune. Oh, I've got another one for you now. Did you know that this just puts into perspective like why worrying? Let's face it, we all worry, and we're all going to do it to an extent, but why you shouldn't let yourself get carried away or consumed by worrying. Did you know that 85% of the things that we worry about in life will never even happen? 85%.
Damn.
That's the crazy thing about like fear and stuff. Is just most of it's just thought that
It's just-
you actually create for yourself.
And it's like, think, the worry leads to anxiety, and anxiety leads
Bad
to...
spiral, man.
And anxiety
Stress.
makes you miserable. And think, you could end up spending your life miserable because of something you've created in
That
your
hasn't
head.
even happened.
No, 85% of the things you worry about will never even happen. That's just crazy, isn't
That
it?
15%, man.
It's so that 15%. It's so easy, isn't it, to get worked up and worried over something though.
Yeah.
Man.
I wish that we were as a species just able to deal with things as they come better, you know?
That's right. This is one thing that I can't ever do nowadays, which I'm sad about. This next fact. Do you know that taking naps during the day can improve your memory and cut your risk of heart disease?
Siesta, baby. Bring back the siesta.
We should make it a thing in Britain because it's a common thing in places like Spain and Italy. But
And even in China, man. I remember,
Really?
did I tell you about that crazy Chinese woman that was at Hinkley Point when I was in my little...
Well, she would just sleep in the day.
Man, I used to have my own little office there in the Hinkley Point when I was doing the old archiving. And I'd sit there and she used to come in. She'd sit next to me and she'd say... Yeah, see you in 20, and she'd just go sleep.
See you in 20.
Yeah. And then like I'd get like real uncomfortable, be like, no, you can't sleep in here. Like I'm gonna
Wake
get
up.
I'm gonna get in trouble if someone comes in here and see you sleeping on like in my office.
They'll be like, Drew, what
they'll be
you
like,
doing?
Why you let this Chinese woman sleep in your office, man?
Yeah.
And like so
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So yeah, I had to wake her up.
But it's
Damn.
interesting because it says here, look, napping once to twice weekly. So you don't have to do it once to twice weekly, apparently, to get the benefits. Napping once or twice weekly for between 5 minutes to an hour showed an almost 50% reduction in the chance of heart attack, stroke, and heart failure.
That's crazy.
To be accurate, it was 48% reduction. They've got it that accurate. And that was compared with people that didn't nap at all. So if you take 1 to 2 naps between 5 minutes to an hour, once or twice a week, you can lower your risk of all heart-related death by 48%.
Giving a
Isn't
little
that
break.
crazy? Yeah.
I've never had a nap in my life.
No,
I don't
are you
think.
kidding me?
Maybe when I was like obviously a baby, but since I've been
You've not had a
sentient,
conscious
obviously.
nap.
since I've been sentient, I don't think I've ever had a nap.
That's crazy, man.
I
I
used to
get
love
scared of
napping.
naps. I get scared of naps because every time I've had a nap, well, not every time, but mostly, like I can't sleep very well in that night. So if I
Right.
have like
Yeah.
an hour and a half nap or something,
Yeah.
like
I see-
maybe a 20-minute one or something, but I never do that. If I have a nap, it's normally like an hour or something at least.
Yeah.
And then I find it hard to sleep at the night.
I have that problem anyway, so it doesn't bother me. Like I could be like have like 4 hours sleep the night before, and I'm probably still gonna find an hour of sleep that night. So to me, if I could take advantage of a nap, then I would take advantage of a nap. But I think like it's one of those things that like once you have kids and stuff, it becomes really hard.
Y'all
to have
need a
naps.
nap.
You need to have a nap, but you can't have a nap. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like
I thought you were gonna say like you need to have naps because you don't get much sleep anytime else.
yeah, man.
I find it a struggle to shut off my brain.
That's
when
what I
I'm
really
in the
struggle with,
daytime.
yeah. Oh, in the daytime.
In the daytime. At night, I can do it a bit better. I've trained myself to be able to shut down when it gets to bedtime.
See, I
But
can't
in the
do that.
daytime, literally no chance. I'll just lay there. Even if I try and have a nap,
Right.
I just couldn't do it.
Really, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Anyway, folks, we're gonna listen to a track now. This is Ladder
Don't have a nap now.
But have a nap. Gonna have a little nap.
See you in 20.
We'll be back in a minute. We're gonna bring you a couple more quickfire facts, and then we're gonna have a little chat about some developments in AI, and then it'll be time for young Bullwinkle to bring us a mystery. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. That was Face of Melinda by Opeth. Before that, we had Red Star Part 2 by King Buffalo. That's for all people listening on the radio.
Oh yeah, I forgot we were doing the old American Redneck special today.
We might just
Hey.
randomly discontinue it. I don't know, but
Oh, do you know? Just one word I want to say that I heard,
go
and
on, my friend.
you saying discontinue made me think of it, and just how much of an amazing word is discombobulated.
oh, it's a great word.
Yeah, great word.
I just feel a bit discombobulated. Do you know
Not-
what? Yesterday evening, for some reason, I felt a bit discombobulated.
Was you a bit discombobulated?
I don't really
yesterday
know
evening?
why. There was
Sometimes it can just come
there was
upon
no
you.
reason. I just felt a bit discombobulated.
Yeah, you needed a nap, man.
I think I probably did need a nap.
Is combobulated a word?
Well, it discombobulated. Is
It
what
makes
what I'm
you. It
thinking.
makes you think it probably should be. I'm gonna quickly look it up. Combobulated.
Combobulated.
But you never
Feeling
hear
on it.
You never hear that, do you?
No.
Combobulated. Combobulated.
I know coagulated is a
That's
word.
like coagulated
yeah.
blood. Oh, it looks like, combobulate. Is combobulated a word, people ask? Combobulated is not officially an English word.
How strange.
However, it has become slang for the opposite of discombobulated. Therefore, it means to put together in order or to bring something out of a state of confusion or disarray.
Let's combobulate this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think our episodes need combobulating sometimes because I think myself, I think I'm probably the most guilty one. I end up going off on one
I'm
bit
quite
sometimes.
discombobulated.
Yeah, we're both a bit discombobulated, old Drewster bear. Young Bullwinkle is just trying to keep us together over there. Trying to keep us
Like my
together. in the
grandma.
corner. Like our grandmothers.
Exactly. That's the role I play.
Like our grandmother.
The woman.
I'm the woman of the group.
He has a bold face and he's trying to keep us together.
Exactly.
Yeah. But some more quickfire facts before we get into some other topics today.
Quickfire facts.
Did you know that dolphins, it's common in dolphin society to have bromances in which two males pair up just like best friends in real life for sometimes as long as 15 years. And they basically help each other hook up with female dolphins.
Dolphin wingman.
Nice, man.
Dolphin wingman.
Dolphin wingman.
It's true.
That's cool.
There's so many things about dolphin culture that's similar to human culture. But yeah, a new study by biologists at the University of North Florida has discovered that dolphins from long-term alliances called or bromances, in which two males pair up for at least as long as 15 years at a time. Each serves as the other's wingman, helping herd fertile females, and sometimes even teaming up with other male pairs to keep females from mating with other rival males. That's really interesting,
cool.
isn't
That's
it?
very cool. I like that fact.
Staying on a very aquatic theme, did you know that female fish sometimes fake orgasms to trick the male into thinking they've successfully mated, just so they can swim off and find a better partner?
I have heard that.
That's also a bit like human society.
Happened to me twice.
Yes. Oh, man. Oh,
Damn.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. Did you know that if you are too drunk or violent in Japan, the police get a large futon and roll you into a small burrito? And then they will then carry... I think I said that one.
Yeah, I've
like
heard that one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Burrito.
This is a crazy one. A woman gave birth to 3 children whose DNA didn't match her own. Despite being monitored while giving birth, she was charged with benefits fraud until it was discovered she carried 2 complete and different sets of DNA inside her body.
Whoa, man.
What?
That's crazy.
How does that work?
The name of the lady was Lydia Fairchild, and she was born in Washington State.
She was called the Virgin Mary.
The Virgin Mary, Lydia Fairchild. She was born in Washington State, USA. And she was shocked to find that she was not the mother of her own children, even though she gave birth to them. The same children that she remembered conceiving, carrying, and giving birth to. What had gone wrong? As a struggling single mother of 2 with a third child on the way, Fairchild, then 26 years old, decided to apply for government assistance. In order to qualify, Fairchild was required to undergo DNA testing to prove that she was the mother of the children for whom she was claiming. When the test results came back, her world was shattered by an incredible revelation. She was not the mother of her 2 children. She faced criminal charges for fraud. Fairchild was ordered to have a court representative be present at the birth of her 3rd child for an immediate DNA test, which revealed the same results. She was not the mother.
Damn.
Further DNA analysis showed that Fairchild was more like an aunt to her children than a mother. But Fairchild didn't even have a sister. Then, the discovery of a similar case in Boston brought to light another possibility. It turned out that Fairchild had an extremely rare genetic condition known as Chimera's disease. Or not a disease, more like a condition. Essentially, she had a twin inside her own body.
What?
What, like living in there as well?
Well, like not
Voldemort?
not Voldemort, not like mentally, but in terms of her DNA. She carried the DNA of 2 humans.
I don't understand
inside.
that.
I think it's hard for us to get our heads around, but I can just about think it. Yeah, so she had 2 sets of DNA.
Is your DNA,
So
man.
imagine like you and your sister Sherelle. Imagine if somehow you
I'm
carried...
in my body?
Well, I don't think anyone would. But imagine, God bless you, Sherelle. But imagine if you had your sister's DNA like in your body as well as your body, just floating around.
So is
don't
that
get it,
like,
man.
I'm assuming 2 eggs must have been fertilized, and somewhere along the line they almost merged?
Mate, you can't. No, that's not right. It would
How
just,
would that have worked then?
I don't claim to be smart enough to know exactly the ins and outs, but I don't think it would have had anything to do with multiple eggs. I think the egg would have been the egg, and it would have been fertilized like
That's
normal.
what I mean. Like, for her eggs not to be her DNA, that just
I think the
blows
way you
my
got to
mind.
think about it, we've got DNA all around our bodies.
I thought we were our DNA. Like,
this
you know
lady
what I mean?
had 2 types of DNA, but as a result, so I guess you got to think of it like this: her children had the DNA of the part of her that didn't show up in the blood test.
Oh, okay. So like her DNA, if you got it from her, of course, yeah, it was different. So her DNA that you'd get for her arm or her cheek or whatever, her mouth or her
swab.
spittle.
Yeah. Her spittle.
That would have been her DNA, but yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop now.
I wonder if she struggled from having almost like a split personality, or like had these conflicting issues within her personality, because that would be a real curious case.
But
if she almost inherited two different things.
That would
like
be more like mental, surely.
Yeah, I suppose.
Like she had a different heart in there.
Or like, like sometimes I think it's a fascinating, like, like the whole like Siamese twin thing. I think that's fascinating. Like I'd love to have a Siamese twin on the pod.
Oh man,
that would be such a cool episode.
I saw this really horrible, weird thing the other day where there was this Siamese like dude, and he had a head, but the other head was on top, but it was just a head. So it was like the skull was really elongated, and it was like, imagine my head, but with an opposite head pointing up like the other way.
Two on the back.
But with no body, just cut off at the neck. So the neck was up here, and it's like head on head action. And then when the guy would go to sleep, the other head would wake up.
Are you on about Edward Mordrake?
I don't know, but I saw it the other day, and it was scary. Dude, and it was like, look around, and it was little things.
I'm going to... do you know what? I have to... We need to cancel our future operations.
This seems insane. I can't believe what I'm hearing.
I need to tell you guys the story of Edward Mordrake, because this is straight up...
Maybe that was him who I was talking about.
But this guy had a little demon on his back.
Oh, on his back.
Oh, damn.
Oh, no, I'm talking about...
It was like another little... had a little face on his back, but it had its own personality, but apparently it was pure evil.
Oh my, that's crazy.
I'm pretty sure the man, actually I don't want to give any spoilers, right? So I'll tell you the story about Edward Mordrake in a second, folks. I'll have to look it up for a little bit more extra information, but I remember the basics. Anyway, I've just looked up chimera disease to find out some more information. It says, chimera is not just part of mythology. In real life, chimeras are animals or humans that contain the cells of two or more individuals. Their body contain two different sets of DNA. How common is this? Experts aren't sure how many human chimeras exist in the world, but the condition is believed to be quite rare. It could be becoming more common with certain fertility treatments like in vitro fertilization, but this isn't proven. Only about 100 or so cases of chimerism have been recorded in modern medical literature in the entire world. Chimerism can also affect non-human animals. Often it causes two distinct types of colorings on different halves of the same animal, such as two different colored eyes. That's interesting.
I like seeing that on dogs.
What's that? That's called. There's a name for that. When you have
damn, it's on the tip of my tongue.
When you have two different colored eyes, it's a name for it. David Bowie had one brown and one blue eye.
That's so cool, man.
There's a name for it, but I can't. It escapes me.
I'll get it up.
Get it up, but that's what she said.
I try to. That's what she said.
So it says here, what causes chimerism? People may experience one of several types of chimerism. Chimera. Each has a slightly different cause and may result in different symptoms. Microchimerism. In humans, chimerism most commonly occurs when a pregnant woman absorbs a few cells from her fetus. Oh, God, that's a bit strange. The opposite may also happen where a fetus absorbs a few cells from its mother. These cells may travel into the mother's or fetus's bloodstream and migrate to different organs. They may remain in a mother's body or child body for a decade or more following childbirth. This condition is called microchimerism. There's also artificial chimerism. A similar kind of chimerism can occur when a person receives a blood transfusion, stem cell transplant, or bone marrow transplant from another person, and as a result, they absorb some of that person's cells. This is called artificial chimerism. Artificial chimerism was more common in the past. Today, transfused blood is usually treated with radiation. This helps the transfusion or transplant recipient better absorb the new cells without permanently incorporating them into their own body. There's also twin chimerism. A more extreme form of chimerism can occur when a pair of twins is conceived and one embryo dies in the womb. The surviving fetus may absorb some of the cells of its deceased twin.
Oh, so it was kind of what I said then.
That is a little bit like what you said. Yeah. But that would be when they were in there, that would be caused
if it was a twin.
The egg inside the mother's body rather than, the mother having that. Anyway, this gives the surviving fetus two sets of cells, its own and some of its twins. And there's also, finally, tetragrammatic chimerism. In other cases, human chimeras develop with two different sperm cells. that fertilize 2 different egg cells.
Damn.
Then these cells all fuse together in one human embryo with crossed cell lines. This is called
I didn't think that was
tetragametic chimerism.
Whoa, that's crazy, man.
2
crazy.
people in one.
There's
Y'all
also,
hear about the Greek mythological creature that was called the chimera?
yeah, of course, man.
Man, that's so cool.
Is that similar?
Ancient Greek. Well, it had different body parts of different animals.
Yeah.
So that must be where it comes from.
They named this obviously after
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Greek
yeah.
myth. Yeah, so I can't. The chimera. I'm just trying to think. I think it had like the head of a lion.
Female monster with a lion's head, a goat's body, and a
I have heard
serpent's
this.
tail.
There you go.
I've been trying to listen to those more Greek mythology recently.
fascinating,
Been watching
man.
videos of it. Very
It's fascinating, my friend. It's fascinating. So what's the condition called with the different eyes?
So there's 3 different types of it. The initial one that under just the branch of everything is heterochromia.
oh god dang.
There's 3 different types of it. You can have complete heterochromia, which is where you got 2 different colored eyes. So you might have one brown eye, one blue eye, that kind of thing.
Right.
You've got central heterochromia,
Right.
which is where the outside of your eye will be one color, but the inside of your eye may be another.
Wow.
But I feel like
That's
I mean, that's
interesting.
quite
I feel
common.
like
that's
if you look
common.
at a lot of people, there is different
I
shades
see
within
that,
one's
yeah,
eye.
man.
100%.
I think Josh
Eyes are
is
some
quite
of the
like
most
that.
Yeah.
they're some of the most interesting things to gaze upon closely.
Mm.
I remember I was thinking your
Patterns.
your older brother Zeus wear the gold. He's got like blue eyes, but in the middle they're quite like yellow. I remember always thinking they're quite like yellow.
you know
Probably
what?
got that then.
You know Danny's son, Noah?
yeah,
He
I
has
do.
the most incredible eye patterns that I've ever seen in another
Really?
human being.
Really?
He's got like blue eyes, but like really piercing blue eyes. But you look upon them, and there's so many patterns. Like that you can see very clearly of like okay, and I'm like, man, his eyes are so crazy.
Yeah.
Mine look really like just dark and brown. You can hardly see any patterns.
Just
in
dark
there.
Mine are
brown.
quite piercing blue, I think.
I think you got piercing blue eyes. That's
Yeah.
right, baby blues.
Baby blue.
blues.
Baby blue. There's one other type of heterochromia. It's called sectoral heterochromia. And that is where you might have, that one looks the coolest, to be honest, from the photos
Really?
I'm seeing. That would be
Really?
like you might have 2 blue eyes, but you'll almost have this like camo pattern of different other colors coming in. So you might have on one eye like a bit of brown coming in, and you might have on the other a bit of green.
That's
But it's
quite
just
interesting.
completely random colors on your eyes. That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Old rainbow eyes, I'd call them.
Old rainbow.
If I knew
Old
someone, I'd say,
rainbow.
old rainbow eyes. Old rainbow eyes.
Oh,
How
look,
you
there's
doing?
old rainbow.
I said to my friend Alice the other day, I said, you know what?
Bring your rainbow eyes over here.
I said,
Let me gaze upon them.
I said, if you were a bloke, I'd call you dwarf features.
She got little everything.
A little, well, I don't know a little everything, but from what I know of her, I mean, we're not that good friends, but we're pretty good friends. Good friends in a clothed nature.
You're obviously not Greek enough.
We're not Greek
Not
enough.
Greek enough.
We're not Greek enough for that sort of level of friendship. But we work out together and stuff, and we're friends. But she is.
That's about the only. The gym gets you kind of Greek, doesn't it? Like,
Gets you a bit Greek.
We used to go. We used
Getting
to
hot
get
and
naked
sweaty.
in the shower, like
Oh
after.
yeah.
Well,
we're not the sort of guys that care about that.
Yeah.
Talking about Zeus Water Gold, he would never partake in such a ritual.
No.
Like me and Drew, we're like, we go in the gym. Yeah, we'll get naked. We'll be chatting in the shower. Our schlongs
Yeah.
flapping about.
That's the time that I realized I was a grower, not a shower.
Yeah. We'll get in the sauna. Luckily, grower and sauna makes your cells expand. So, But
man.
we'll get in the sauna. We'll just be having a chat about life, like
Yeah.
we are right now. No thought about the fact that our balls are out,
Just dangling away there.
just dangling about,
Yeah.
free as a
And
bird.
that was
Free
so,
as a
as
bird.
like I said as well about the saunas of the festivals that I went to,
Right.
where you
when
have
you
those
were with the naked ladies.
Yeah, man, and like the dome shaped kind of
Penis.
the dome
The
shaped
guy next to me,
saunas
Right.
with the things in there, and everyone would just be naked, and it was such a liberating feeling for me to be out because you're in these really hot saunas, and then you go out with the sauna, and there's just a fire burning in the middle of that enclosure,
Inside
and
your
you
heart.
all go. I mean, fire was
Inside
burning
your
inside
heart.
my heart, man.
Inside your
And
heart.
y'all go just sit down on some logs,
All naked.
just maybe you drape a little thing over you because it's getting cold, but you're so hot when you come out, and it's just so nice, just
Freeing,
chill there,
man.
and it's so free. I just feel good at that point. But now, I think I hadn't done it for a few years. Would I be a bit weirded out by that now?
Why would you be more
Eternal
weirded out?
question.
Why would you
I
be
don't
more weirded
know,
out now?
because like I don't know, like right now, I don't think I'd be comfortable just getting naked on the pod.
Why not?
I don't know. It's what I mean. It's crept back. That kind of fear has crept back.
As far as I'm aware, you hadn't prepared for that event beforehand. So
no,
what's the
man,
difference?
I just chose it.
So what's the difference?
There probably isn't, but it's like that thing about the 85% of the mind that the word. Like for some reason that's just there, but it's not. Why?
Do you know
why
what,
did it
Drew?
be there?
Let's
get naked.
I don't agree with that assessment. I think that I reckon if we were both there right now, I reckon you'd strip off before I even got a chance to take off my top. I reckon you'd be running naked,
in the sauna.
running naked, bits of dangling.
If we were back there, yeah, man, I reckon that.
Yeah, I reckon he's overthinking things right now. If we were in the moment,
overthinking,
especially if we'd had like maybe just one or two little meads or some beverages. As I said, by the time I'd untop my top button, I'd look over. Drew would be butt naked, running towards the sauna, and I'd be like, "How did he even get undressed that quick?"
Damn.
This guy was telling me he didn't even feel comfortable, and now he's
wore
there.
my Adidas popper trousers, just ripped them off.
Yeah, just like 90s, just like in the 90s,
Man, I bet they're expensive now. I bet they're on Depop.
Probably.
They were like a real big thing in the
Popper
90s,
trousers?
weren't they? Those popper joggers sort of thing. Oh, like trackies more like.
Yeah.
Friends
Popper
got some of them.
tracks.
You get a lot of Kappa ones. Kappa, you know that brand?
Kappa.
Kappa?
Yeah, it's like
Kappa.
with the two women that are
That's the one.
Oh, right.
leaning against each other.
I can
that?
I can picture the emblem, but I can't think of the brand for some reason. That's weird. That's
Kappa.
weird. Kappa.
Kappa.
CAPPA.
C-A-P-P-A.
K-A-P-P-A,
Yeah, man.
I think.
K-A-P-P-A.
I love how we just kind of brushed over that crazy story that you were saying about the guy with the head on his head.
Oh, yeah,
When he
man.
goes to sleep.
Right.
The other head.
So let me tell you
see a
about
picture of
What?
it?
Let me tell you
I
let me tell you about the Edward Mordrake guy, right? So Edward Mordrake was a guy. He's a part of urban legend, so I don't think people know if he actually existed or not by this point. But apparently, he lived in 19th century England, and he was the heir to English peerage, and he had a face on the back of his head. According to legend, the face never talked to anybody apart from Edward, and would only make like creepy noises. So, according to legend, the face could whisper, laugh, and cry.
Oh my God.
Mordrake repeatedly begged doctors to try and remove it, but they said they couldn't without killing him. It's made him extremely depressed. He claimed that at nighttime, when he was trying to sleep, his other head whispered bad things to him in the middle of the night.
God.
Even trying to convince him to kill other people.
Jesus.
Mordrake, as a result, committed suicide at the age of 23 because he could not carry on being tormented by his little demonic head.
Voldemort.
Damn.
That's creepy.
I reckon that's like Voldemort. Where
It
that
is like
story of
Voldemort.
came
Because didn't he
from.
like live on the back of someone's head?
Yeah.
Weird.
Lupus? No,
Lupus
not
Lupus.
Lupus poopus.
Lupus Mordrake.
No, this is a picture of the two head boy from Bengal.
Right.
I want
Y'all
to see
that?
this.
You'll see that, but because it was
it's upside down head.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Upside down.
Was this a
It's
real
like
person?
Yeah, it's from the 1700s.
Can
so
I
they
have a
didn't
quick
have
look, my friend?
photography back there, but that was like the scientific drawings that were done of the
That
boy.
is crazy. That is crazy.
Weird, isn't it,
Mental
man?
stuff.
In May
Mental.
1783, in a small village named Mundal Gout in Bengal, India, a strange child was born. He had two heads. The midwife assisting the birth was so horrified by the child's appearance that she tried to kill the monstrosity by throwing him into a lake of fire.
Poor kid.
Fortunately, the baby was rescued with burns in one eye and one ear. The parents, after recovering from the initial shock, began to see the newborn as a money-making opportunity. I already feel sorry for this child.
What a bad start, man.
His mother?
People would do that in India. They chop off their limbs and stuff so they can become beggars on the
Oh,
street.
that's so weird, man.
That is mental.
Fortunately, the baby was rescued with some burns. The parents after the initial shock. Blah blah blah. And with that in mind, they left their village for Calcutta, where their deformed baby could be exhibited to the world for financial gain. The two-headed baby attracted a great deal of attention and earned the family a great deal of money. Between shows, to prevent the crowd from taking a peek without paying, his parents kept the unfortunate child hidden, usually under a sheet, sometimes for hours at a time. Do you know what? This is a really depressing story because I just
say
think
it, man.
for this poor child, that was all he
Kid
knew.
never had a chance.
Straight out of the room into the
chucked
burning
on a
pot.
fire.
No, man. It's
His
bad.
midwife chucked him on a
man.
fire, and his parents were like, do you know what? We can keep him alive purely to exploit him for financial gain. And then you're like basically keeping him locked under lock and key.
Under a sheet.
Yeah, essentially. Just hidden from the world like a little freak. As his fame spread across India, several noblemen Civil servants and city officials invited the child and his parents to their homes for private exhibitions, where their guests could examine the curious specimen up close and personal.
Did the other head have like could it speak?
Well, I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah, I think it says about it.
One of these observers was a Colonel Pierce who described the encounter to the president of the Royal Society, Sir Joseph Banks, and it was Sir Banks who later forwarded the account to the surgeon, Everard Home. By two-headed, some people might assume two heads growing side by side from a single neck, but in this case, however, the boy's head grew atop the other head.
Damn.
It sat inverted on top of the main head and ended in a neck-like stump. The second head had a few irregularities. The ears were malformed, the tongue was small, and the lower jaw was rather small. But otherwise, both heads were about the same size and were covered by black hair at the junction. Oh my God, that's a bit freaky, man. Mm-hmm. The second head seemed to function independently of the main head. Yeah. When the child cried or smiled, the features of the upper head were not always affected and did not match the emotion of the child. When the child slept, the second head might be awake, and its eyes moving as if observing the surroundings.
That's what I thought was weird.
The second head also reacted to external stimuli. A pinch in the cheek would produce a grimace, and when it was given the breast, its lips began to suckle. It also produced tears and saliva. However, the corneal reflexes were missing, and the eyes reacted weakly to light. Despite its freakish appearance, the boy did not seem to suffer any ill effects due to the condition. One day, when the child was 4 years old, his mother left him alone to fetch water. When she returned, she found the child dead by the bite of a cobra snake. Many antagonists offered to buy the corpse. Many anatomists offered to buy the corpse to dissect the body and learn more about it, but the religious parents could not allow such desecration of their son. The child was buried near the Bupnorian River outside the city of Tumlock.
So got bit by a cobra snake at 4 years old.
That caught me off guard. I did not think that was about to happen.
I thought it was gonna from the bite mark of the other head somehow
turn around.
Even though he was buried, his grave was robbed by a man called Mr. Dent. He was a salt agent for the East India Company. He dissected the putrefied body of the child and gave the skull to a Captain Buchanan of the East Indian Company.
Man, this whole story from beginning to end, it's just been weird characters popping up. Captain Buchanan, who wanted the head.
Captain Buchanan wanted the freak head. The captain later brought the skull to England and gave it to his friend Everard Home. The skull of the boy of Bengal can still be seen at the Hunterian Museum at the Royal College of Surgeons in London.
We should go see it, man.
There's a real life picture of it right there.
Oh, wow. That's a big head.
Damn.
I don't know if you can see that. It's probably out of focus, folks.
Oh, man. I just realized that is crazy.
That is absolutely crazy. When Mr. Dent dissected the heads, he discovered that the brains were completely separate and distinct from each other. Each brain was firmly covered in its own dura mater and were supplied by large vessels which delivered nutrition to the upper head. The boy's condition today is known as craniophagus parasiticus, an extremely rare type of parasitic twinning that occurs in about 2 to 3 of every 5 million births. That's a bit of a weird way to word it. Why didn't they just say like 1 in 2.5 billion?
Yeah.
The embryo initially developed as twins, but it failed to completely separate, and one of the twins remained underdeveloped and attached to the fully developed one. Parasitic conjoining twins are very rare and often stillborn or incapable of surviving long after birth. The only viable treatment is to surgically remove the parasitic twin, but these kind of surgeries are very risky and can result in death.
Damn.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever been upside down for very long?
That's what the skull must have been like.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
and you know when you go upside down, the blood like rushes through your brain, and it's just an awful feeling. Man, imagine living your whole life
upside down.
Upside down.
That would suck.
That would not be nice.
I would not like that.
It's a bit weird how they like described the bit with the boob.
Yeah, man.
And even the name of it, like parasiticus or whatever.
Yeah, it makes
it.
I can't help but just hear that whole story, and it just makes me feel a bit sad.
Yeah, man. Depressing story.
You know?
Yeah, horrible, man. Ugh, I don't like it.
Just like a sad life for that poor
Yeah,
poor
it's
Like you
like
say,
how
there was
much
no
sentence?
chance for that child right from the off, wasn't
right
it?
from the get go.
Well, I wonder like how long he would have lived even after the bite, because they say it's quite
Yeah.
hard for him to stay alive. But what if that was just the head and you know?
Did they have to
maybe-
feed both head?
No, so he said that there was some vessels that were connected to the top one that it would bring it food, you know, or bring
yeah,
it
that's
nutrition.
right.
So
Yeah,
That's a good brother.
it's crazy.
that's a damn good brother.
That's
He
a
would
good
eat.
brother.
Give it to the
Split
bro.
the bread.
Oh, I'm full. Here you go. Yeah, a bit weird, but you know, God rest his soul.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the tale of I can't remember the lad's name now. I don't know if
Nah,
I've even
man.
said, but the Bengal boy. Anyway,
Bengal boy.
and also
The Bengal
Edward
boys.
Mordrake, two people with conjoined twin condition. Parasiticus conditionus, and you know, both had separate entities living alongside them in their bodies. Very intriguing to us mere regular mortals.
You know
or
how-
regular-ish.
You know how everyone's got like a bit of a voice in their head that sometimes you may think or think things that you don't necessarily believe.
I have
'Cause everyone's
many.
got a bit of a dark side to them that you don't feed. Right, that you don't feed. It's like when we were talking about the call to the void.
Ah, the
That thing a
call to
while
the
ago.
thing, the voice that can actually try and convince you to like do something crazy, like slam your car into a brick wall when you're going at like 100 miles an hour. I mean, at the speed limit.
There, I do wonder if that person that had, I can't remember his name, Edward Mordrake. Or,
That's right.
yeah, if that head that he had on his back, if he almost somehow
Imagine
put this personality,
Put a
this
face
other
to the-
side of him,
Yeah.
to the back side of his head, and then that's how it
And
metabolized.
became like.
It's weird that one could whisper. They didn't talk about the other one, the one that you said about the Bengal boy. It
Yeah.
didn't made any noise, but it's creepy
Yeah.
that the Edward Mordrake one. Imagine trying to sleep at night and you just hear like, Edward, kill Cynthia. You'd be like,
Damn.
shut up, mate. Look, I just want to go to sleep. Kill
Imagine
everyone.
Imagine every time something bad happened in your life and you were feeling a bit down, you just had this head on the back of your head laughing at you. Man, imagine how much that would rub it in.
It reminds me a little bit of, you know, Total Recall.
Yeah, man, like, from the thing
The
that we
movie.
got. Yeah. Open your mind. Open your mind.
It reminds me of that little face that's living on that man's belly.
Yeah.
You know? I wonder if anyone's head like that. Do you know what I mean? Like a
on
head
the
growing
belly.
out of a
That's
belly.
kind of like, yeah, man, not the belly. That'd be weird,
Like
man.
That would be weird.
Like in Total Recall.
Damn. Damn,
Imagine
damn,
that, keeping
damn.
it buttoned up. Like,
Oh,
be
damn.
quiet, you.
It's these conversations that just makes me feel so happy that I haven't got something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's one of my worst like fears is like this weird
If you were
parasitic
if you
thing
were a
living on
conjoined
me.
twin.
Yeah, man, I would not like that.
Imagine if one day you woke up and you just had like a head somewhere on your body speaking to you.
I remember
You don't know where
hearing
it came from.
I remember hearing about this lady that was a conjoined twin, and it was like weird. It was like you know the more traditional ones where it's like a head sort of both coming out of the same neck almost, and it was like one of them got married to a bloke, but
Yeah,
like
man.
obviously then the other one. The thing is obviously it gets confusing because I think like say that woman's making love to her husband, but they're like sisters. She's making love to her too.
Yeah.
So it's a bit weird.
Just putting like a little sheet up between them or something.
I also think I can't remember. I also
Or live it
heard
Greek.
I also heard stories of conjoined twins where like when one of them dies, but the other one's still alive.
Ooh, damn.
But
That ain't nice.
because it's such a severe case of like living together all their lives, they can't function.
No.
But like not physically, like they're emotionally.
Oh, really?
They're
Okay.
so emotionally strong. They like die of grief because they can't. Imagine
It is
having
like a part of you dying.
I can imagine it'd be weird, man.
Yeah, like the whole thing of like thoughts and emotions and feelings, how they would become like merged between both people. I wonder how that is. Like, do they have complete set? Like they were saying that one,
Yeah.
the Bengal boy. It was
Yeah.
like, oh no, we're not Bengal boy. I think. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
what
so
was
it
it?
was
Yeah,
like two
yeah,
brains.
yeah.
I can
Yeah.
imagine like they would have like separate thoughts and
Yeah, they
stuff.
would, yeah.
But how much would be joined as well? You know, like
Yeah.
how like what? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I
like,
think they'd know each other so well because, like, I think you have to do everything. You have to shower, go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and think like without I don't want to get too X-rated, folks. But let's say even things like masturbation.
yeah, exploring the pleasures of the body.
Like, that's a bit weird in a way, because, like, you wouldn't do that normally with your brother or your sister.
No, man.
Just right
not
there.
at all. Yeah, that's so strange.
I mean, maybe in, like, Alabama.
Maybe
if you're going Greek.
Maybe if you're going Greek. And by the way, I don't mean that about Alabama. Sweet home Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Alabama and Leonard Skinner. And, that was just purely a joke. So I'm sorry about that for any Alabamans that are insulted by that.
Alabamians.
Don't worry, we have them in England, too. There's loads of weird inbred folk.
Just go to Stegursey.
Just go to Stegursey where I live, man. Where I live, there's some really weird folks. And I just want to put this disclaimer. I'm not born and bred Stegursey, so I'm not tainted with that inbred blood. I got relatives from all over, all right?
Mongrel.
I'm a mongrel.
Best way to be.
There are some weird, they're like in Stegursey, though, there are like some old families, that are like, they've been living in Stegursey for like hundreds of years. And you can tell it, short, big ears, intellect of a 5-year-old, even though they're fully grown. Can't even spell their name.
Is it legal to marry your first cousin?
I think it's legal technically, but it's very frowned upon.
Yeah.
I
I think that used to happen a lot.
Yeah, it did. And I know that it's definitely legal to do your second cousin, but even that's weird to me. Like, I talked to some of my second cousins, and I just consider them my cousins. The thought of, like, hooking up with one.
Yeah.
It's like we have the same
you
great...
still got that family, connection.
Their grandparent is my grandparent's brother or sister. That's weird.
Yeah.
We have the same great-grandparents.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's like Egypt, what we were talking about. I think it was before the pod about the disformities that would happen in
deformities.
royal...
The
disformities.
Well, it sounds good enough. Good enough.
Yeah, the deformities that would happen in Egyptian
culture, in royal society.
Because to keep those bloodlines like
pure in their head.
They would like marry their sisters and stuff.
Very Jaime and Cersei Lannister.
Yeah, but that's just so weird, man.
Yeah, don't bang your sister, man.
No, man.
That's a bit of advice. A bit of advice to everyone listening from Pandora's Box. Don't bang your sister.
Make that into a clip.
or anyone in your family. Or anyone in your family, for that matter.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, man. I mean, you want to go back at least like, a good 4 or 5 generations at the least. And even then, by that point, it's probably not deliberate, because you can't keep tab on those things.
Even, I remember, it's not a good way to start that sentence. Even on Ancestry DNA, I don't know if any of y'all have done that.
Yeah, we have,
the amount of people that y'all have that'll be third cousins, fourth cousins, you'd never know. Like, if you walked past one, you wouldn't know that person was related to you in some way, but someone might be. So there's your warning.
Well, we've talked about some of the extinction events before that have happened during, humans evolved. And do you remember I was talking about that one to y'all where humankind took a massive setback and we almost went extinct and there was only about 2,000 humans left on the planet? So every single thing of the 7.5 billion people or whatever is the current population of the world, we all originate from those 2,000 humans.
That's so cool.
That survived that mass extinction event.
And somewhere along the line, you'd imagine they would have come from another small group. So that 2,000 would have been like, once again, whittled down. Well, and they'll all have a bit of each other in them as well.
Well, I think there would have been that very first Homo sapien.
Yeah.
And we're all from that very first Homo sapien.
How does that work? I've never really understood that.
Evolution, baby.
If there was one Homo sapien that evolved before everybody else, would they have to wait for another one to evolve to reproduce?
No, because it happens like gradually as a society.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
So it would have been almost like people would have came together.
So
almost.
Think of the first hominid was Homo erectus, right? So that was, and it's called erectus because it was the first one that stood erect. So it was the first one that walked on 2 feet, essentially. So for whatever reason, it just decided one day to come down off the trees. I expect it
walking on those feet.
I expect it was walking around on all 4 for a little bit. And you know what? It's probably more handy actually to stand on 2 feet. I can hold stuff. And they also think, I've definitely heard of anthropologists theorize that what's the dangers of being down on the plains of Africa? Well, then you're subjected more to the dangers of things like lions, hyenas, even angry rhinos, snakes. So, standing on your 2 feet, you have the ability to hold things. You hold them great big rock. There might be
bash it on the head.
Bash it. Throw a big rock at a hyena's head. It might be just enough to say, "Oh, this is too much trouble. I don't want to get my face bashed in by this big monkey." this big ape man. I'm going to walk off, right? So, and then, you think they started evolving more. At first, it might have just been a big stick, getting wet by a big stick. Then they decided to, tie a big sharp stone to the end. Then you got a spear. Then your step opens up the potential for evolution. As time goes on, as a society, they're evolving a little bit more. They get a little bit less hairy. They're walking upright all the time. They're making more tools. They're learning how to build fires. They're starting to cook meat.
Yeah, starting to wear those instead of just having their fur. They're actually getting more warmer.
So don't think of it like one day just an ape gave birth to a human. It doesn't work like that. It's a very, very micro-gradual process that obviously happens over hundreds of thousands of years, but it's hard for us to quantify it in time-wise because obviously our lives are anywhere between 0 seconds and 100 years max.
And it's also thinking about the divergences from
diversity.
Say or literal divergence of species, the Neanderthal compared to the hominid, or
100%.
Obviously, what made that happen?
There was lots of different hominid species. Obviously, we're the last hominid species, which is sort of sad in a way. Although
I would like to see some of those little pygmy ones and stuff.
Homo habilis. Homo habilis.
That would be quite cool.
Homo habilis were like the Hobbit people. They were only 3 to 4 foot tall.
Yeah, man.
But they were like hominids.
Yeah.
They had societies like us. They were smart. They had tools, but they were 3 or 4 foot tall.
It'd be so cool to see those societies, man.
Obviously, we do contain fragments of DNA from different hominid species.
And Neanderthal as well. We all got a little bit of Neanderthal in us, haven't we?
The average European has between 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA.
Man.
So hominid species did interbreed, and there was Denovians. I want to say they were called Denovians.
I think it's Denovians, yeah.
Yeah, well, they were the one that were more common in Asia, and Asians tend to have a bit more Denovian DNA because Neanderthals didn't live in Asia. Maybe that's... I'm just theorizing. I don't know. Maybe it can explain some of the physical differences between a typical Asian and a typical European. I don't know. We've got a bit more bony foreheads. We're paler, obviously. Our eyes tend to be a slightly different shape. But we're all the same species, but those tiny little percentages.
Pangea, man.
Yeah, we're all from Pangea.
Do y'all think that there's going to be another hominid species that ever comes, or do you think the Homo sapiens so dominant now that there will never be a time that they could even come up?
I think life is just in pure evolution in every moment of every day and every so we could definitely transform into something else.
There's different hypotheses. I know that some people think that we might evolve into 2 subspecies of human. And that there might
AI and normal.
Well, that's another possibility as well, which is very likely, I think, at this stage.
Absolutely.
But cyborg. But what book is it? Was it 1989 or there was, I can't remember. There was some piece of fiction, but also some anthropologists genuinely believe this, that we could evolve into 2 subspecies, maybe of the upper classes will evolve taller, fairer, maybe better looking, but physically weaker than current humans.
That is interesting.
Upper class societies, everything is based on a certain lifestyle, which is more to do with wealth, breeding, stuff like that. And then the lower class might evolve into maybe slightly shorter, but stockier, not as physically attractive in terms of the face, but physically stronger, but maybe a bit less intelligent than we are now. And that's been theorized, I know, for a while. So, you could have the 2 subspecies. One of them, on average, would be 6'2" to 6'5", the males, and then the other ones would be between 5'6" and 5'10", and they'd be shorter and stockier, but in general less intelligent. And there would almost be 2 subspecies, and the taller ones would be almost running things, and then the shorter, stockier ones with lower IQs would be doing the labor. But I think as we see AI progress, the chances of that are maybe more or less likely now, are more or less likely.
The speed that AI is progressing is outrageous. Outrageous. So that's why I 100% back what you're saying.
Do you know what? I'm really sorry, Bullwinkle, because we've gone on so long again today. We haven't had time again to do a Mystery Monday. And not only that, we didn't even touch on AI already, apart from that tall snippet then. We've got just over a minute of the show left. So I'm sorry about that, folks. Next week, I'll tell you what. Should we just throw the show on its head, and next week we'll maybe even start with Mystery Monday?
Get
I
it
think
out
we're
the
going to
way.
have to because it's becoming mystery some days.
It is a mystery some days.
Yeah, that was Drew's little pun from earlier on. He had to get it in there. It's not even Mystery Mondays anymore. It's Mystery Sundays. And we hadn't even had one for a fortnight. And I like the mysteries. You know, I like the mysteries. But we've just been going off on tangents recently.
Too easy to talk, man.
It's just too
Yeah,
easy to talk.
I like to chatter, man. I like to chatter.
Yeah, and just see where it goes. Shooting the breeze.
Shooting
the breeze.
Shooting the breeze, as we always say.
And
Just not shoot the breeze.
also, talking in American accent, if I can't get my words out properly, I just slur a little bit more, and it makes me easy to express. So I like it, man.
Gives you time to think. Gives you time to think
Absolutely.
about these things, ladies and gentlemen.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy.
But yeah, let's just leave you with this. I know that like Elon Musk is pretty much saying that we should merge with AI.
God damn.
Because he's saying if we don't, it might become like an us versus them sort of thing.
Damn.
Whereas if we merge with it,
Then it'll be us together.
it'll be we'll be merged with it. So there will be no us versus them.
I wouldn't mind a bit of AI in me.
We will be
Oh my
AI and
God.
AI will be. I think it freaks me out in a way because I don't know if I want to. And I like the idea that if I want to know something, I can look it up on Google, but I don't know if I like the idea that I could just go bloop and just know it in my head. Like, it takes the mystery and the fun out of life, I think. You know? I like that feeling of the unknown. Even if I can find it out. I like to feel the unknown. I don't want to be like, what's this? Someone asks you some ridiculously hard equation and instantly you can answer it. Where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
Because it takes away from all of the geniuses out there that maybe could do it. You know, or if you could just download every scale into your brain, like a guitar scale, say, and then just instantly become like Eddie Van Halen good.
Yeah,
it takes away the magic
It's the learning, man. It's the journey. That's all it's about.
It's the journey, not the destination. That's a common phrase, isn't it? You know, and I sort of agree with that to an extent. But anyway, we'll leave you with that for this week, ladies and gentlemen. We'll let you ponder on that. So thanks for listening to another Pandora's Box. However you've been listening to us, whether it's been on the radio, Spotify, YouTube, whatever, we love y'all. I've been Obediah Pennywhistle. This has been...
I've been Rupert The Dog.
And this to the left of me.
Bull Winkle.
That's it. Detective Bull Winkle.
That's right.
See you next time, folks.
His name is Rupert the Dog. Some say he's good, some say he's bad. This is what I say. He's a naughty boy. He's a dog, he's an animal. He uses a sock. That's a sock. Instead of a toy. Stop chewing my sock. Stop chewing my sock. Stop chewing my sock. Stop using your toys. Start using your toys instead.
What a shock, he's got another sock. He's a dog on a mission and he's never gonna stop. He doesn't want the flip-flop, he wants that organic cotton I got from the shop. He doesn't want the toy, he doesn't want the bone. I'm the sock king sitting on my leather throne. Doesn't matter how many balls I throw. Look dad, it's time for the sock now, let's go. Drag it round, growl at the ground, getting chased now. Daddy wants sock back, bite him, ouch. No, I won't lie down, I got a sock and I wanna run around and rock out. I'm a good boy, can you feel the joy that I got? Cause your sock is a good toy. You never catch me, I got another ploy. Gonna find another one of your socks to destroy.
He's a naughty boy. He's a dog, he's an animal. He uses a sock instead of a toy. Stop chewing my sock. Stop chewing my sock. Stop chewing my sock. Stop using your toys. Start using your toys instead.
Rupert, I've got a bone to pick. Why you obsessed with this sock when I throw you a stick? Look at all the holes in the sock you've ripped. See another sock in your mouth, I'm gonna flip. Oh, Dad, stop being so mean. You know I'm the cutest dog you've ever seen. If you want this sock, you better give me a bowl of beef and about another million treats. Rupert, I'm the man of this house. Now sit down, put that sock on the ground. If not, I'll get mummy and you'll be in trouble. No more lilies, walks or cuddles. Don't worry, I ain't scared of mum. I'll just chase her around and I'll bite her bum. To be honest, Dad, this sock's just too much fun. I ain't giving it up for anyone. His name is Rupert the Dog. Some say he's good, some say he's bad. This is what I say. He's a naughty boy. He's a dog, he's an animal.
He uses a saw instead of a toy. Stop chewing my saw. Stop chewing my saw. Stop chewing my saw. Start using your toys. Start using your toys instead.
He's a dog, he's an animal.